Hey, how's it going? Welcome back to another episode of the Usagi Podjimbo podcast. I'm your host, Mike. It's another week. You know what that means. We're talking more about Usagi Yojimbo. That's right. We're talking about that little Ronin rabbit himself. Yeah, we got a good story for you this week. I hope everybody's doing well out there, staying safe, all that kind of good stuff, reading some comic books. But today we are looking at Usagi Yojimbo, the Blind Swords Pig. This is a short story, if I remember correctly, from my little Usagi Yojimbo knowledge that I have. This was a short story published in 86, I believe, and it's a part of the first run of Fantagraphics in the very, very first trade paperback. I don't remember if this was one of the stories that was in like the anthology series that was around before Usagi Yojimbo. I can't remember exactly on that part. I guess I should have looked that up. I guess I should have looked that part up. But hey, who's to say what? I mean, somebody out there might know. I know somebody might know more than me. That's for sure. But we are on episode, or not episode, we're in issue 6 of the colored classic Usagi Yojimbo story, and it's the Blind Swords Pig. So let's get into this. Hope you guys enjoy this first episode. So we see, obviously, a blind swords pig, or a blind pig, because we don't know he's a swords pig just yet. Spoilers, I guess we could say, but he's walking around using his stick, very much like a you would see, obviously, a blind person use, tapping it on the ground. He's sniffing the air because pigs have a very, very good sense of smell, and he's like, sniff, sniff, snort. Many people. I'm approaching a village, obviously, and he's like, oh, there's rich soil, fertile soil, new rice. Farmers, maybe, perhaps. He's like, perhaps, maybe I'll finally find peace. And we see behind him, as he's walking into this village, we see, as the reader, we see his portrait on a wanted poster. Now, we don't really know what the wanted poster says, because it looks like it's in Japanese, like kanji type stuff. But the pig enters into this village, and you see them, the villagers, they look in terror, and they're like, oh no, look out, it's the outlaw Blind Ino. Like, then one of them's like, there's a huge bounty on his head. We should murder him, kill the swine, kill him dead. And I like this one guy in the background. He's like, you go first, not me. Like, he's pushing this other guy into the crowd. Obviously, this blind swords pig Ino has a reputation to his name, and things aren't really looking good for him at the moment. And he's he happens to think, like, so it begins again. So obviously this has happened before, and things aren't really looking good for Ino, and maybe some misfortune definitely comes his way. Hours later, Usagi shows up at the same village. The village is destroyed, burning. People are running around frantic, trying to put out the fires. And Usagi's like, huh, what's going on here? So much destruction. What's all this calamity about? And it's kind of weird to see dead people in the Usagi universe. It almost looks like they're asleep or like knocked out, kind of, by the way Sansekai draws them. Like, one of them's under some rubble, one's being pulled out of some fire. And Usagi's like, hold on, peasants. A samurai would have a word with you. And he's like, but my house is on fire. My house is on fire. I gotta save my village. This guy. I like this. I don't know if we would call it like a fourth wall break, but it definitely breaks in the comic book where Usagi is pushing this. I think he's a cat guy, and he goes and bends into the outline of the panel, so it goes into the next panel that we have, and we find out that this devastation was caused not by an invading army, not by an earthquake, anything like that. It was caused by one man, an outlaw, and his samurai. He's like, yes, samurai. He was a bloodthirsty, terrifying demon swordsman. The monster stormed into town and basically uh, killed everybody, which we know with he says without provocation or pro. Um, I lost my train of thought. It was provocation. That's what it said. No provocation whatsoever. Sorry about that. Sometimes I mess up my words. You know how it is. He's like, he just came in and started killing everybody left and right. But I think that's not the case because what we saw earlier was that did not want to hurt anybody. Obviously, he was just defending himself that we know of, and the villagers tried to get him to get the reward. So who's in the right here? Obviously, nobody's in the right because two wrongs don't make a right, right? You know what I mean? So Usagi starts to think about this and uh, starts to ponder the situation and wonders what exactly happened. Which at this point he starts to reference a barbarian that I remember. Which I'm curious about this barbarian because we haven't seen any barbarians in the books so far that I'm reading, but there is one in the next story. Kind of, he looks like a barbarian, and I think that's supposed to be Gru. I kind of wonder if he was referencing like Gru the Wanderer, which I know Stan Sakai did have a little bit of um, of a hand in helping with. And I know Gru does make an appearance in the next story that we're going to be covering. So I'm curious about that if that was the case or he was referencing uh, Gru at that point. So several hours later, uh, we see Usagi traveling on the road, talking to himself about Ino. Ino must be a ferocious swordsman indeed. The villagers said that he was 7 feet tall with fangs and all this kind of stuff. And we see this. There's a hole in the ground, and there's a little dinosaur standing above it. And you hear, "Hey, anybody there? I need some help." And we see Ino, the blind swords pig, is in a hole. And Usagi's like, "Oh, you're blind. Let me help you out." And he puts his sword down to help him out of the hole. And Usagi introduces himself. He says, "I'm Miyamoto Usagi. Where are you going? Like, where are you bound to? And Ino says, like, "I'm Ino, a blind monsieur." So I had to look up monsieur, and monsieur is a messenger of some kind, and he goes where his profession takes him. He says, ultimately, he says he seeks a place where he can live in peace and harmony, like he said before, obviously. And so Usagi and Ino, which we find out his full name is Zato Ino, they start traveling along the road, and Usagi happens to tell Zato Ino that he'll go with him and keep him company while he's on the road to wherever he's going at this moment. And Zato Ino happens to say, I really don't care much for outlaws. They don't really do anything for me because Usagi mentions that there's some fierce outlaws about, and we see that Zato Ino's actually can tell that Usagi is a Ronin because he can smell the blood on his blade, and his blade has been covered in blood because he was employed as a samurai. So he obviously has a really, really good sense of smell when it comes to that aspect. And Usagi's like, "Oh, that's remarkable. I didn't even know that. You could smell that well." He's like, "Yeah, I can even sent the lone gecko leaf as it falls off the tree. He's like, "Oh, that's amazing! There are two leaves." He's like, "Yeah, well, I haven't bathed in a while, so that might be the case. I happen to be off on my scent," which was kind of funny. We get a good little chuckle out of that. So Usagi and Ino end up going along, and it starts to become nighttime. So they decide to stop and make camp, and we see Usagi trying to catch a fish. This is one of the low only times we've seen Usagi without his outfit on, which is pretty interesting. And we get this funny scene where he's trying to catch a fish and he accidentally steps on a turtle instead of stepping on a rock, and he slips and falls, which is pretty funny. I like the comedic aspect of that. The way the panel is laid out is very funny, and seeing the expressions on Usagi's face, he's like, "Oh, like whoops, I fell," type of thing. And so they set up camp, and Usagi comes back. He's got a turtle and a fit. No, he lose. I think he loses his fish. He only gets the turtle. He's like, "Hey, Zato, look, I caught a turtle. This is cool." And Zato Ino is sitting next to the campfire. He's got a couple fishes already. He's like, "Well done, Ronin. Well done. I have a bit of luck myself," he says, "and I caught some fish and some locusts." They sit down to eat, and I like the way the light bounces off of them and the shadows that Stan Sakai has drawn in this panel. These panels or this page is very, very well done and looks really good. And so uh, Ino or Zato Ino asks Usagi, he's like, "Hey, where are you going to? Where are you traveling to?" And this is where we find out Usagi is traveling north. He wishes to visit the village where he was born. And I don't remember Usagi ever saying that, but I guess I could have missed that part um, in the while reading beforehand. And you see Ino, and he's like, "Sigh, I wish I could make such a pilgrimage. It has been far too many years since I." And he cuts off, and he like starts to sniff and smell. And Usagi's like, "What are you? What is it? What do you sense? You sense something?" And you see them getting ready to draw their swords, and he puts it away. He's like, "No, there was nothing, just a noise playing tricks on me, or I mean, my nose playing tricks on me, And uh, he's like, I must remember to bathe. So obviously, there's something out in the woods. We don't know what exactly is out in the woods, but something is, and I wonder what that exactly might be." And so the next day comes. Usagi gets up, wakes up, and he notices that Zataino is nowhere to be found. He has left. Yeah, it looks like he left Usagi with the fish, but the fish is being eaten by one of the little dinosaur guys that has been palling around the camp and all that kind of jazz and whatnot. And he starts to wonder where Zatuino is, and he walks off, and he sees these people in the distance, and he's like, "Oh, there's Zatuino right there," and he's like, "Oh, that could be Ino. I think that's Ino." And he's like, "Oh, he's outnumbered. He might be outnumbered. Let me go help him." And you see this bear and this like oxen surrounding Zatuino. They're like, "We knew who you are, outlaw. You're outnumbered. Drop your weapons. We can kill you painlessly. And he's like, "I thought I smelled you last night." Eno says, "I thought I smelled you." And he's like, "The stink of bounty hunters is unmistakable." So he smelled them. He knew that they were out there. He effortlessly takes them out, and they are dead. And Usagi is like shocked. He's like, "What? You killed them all? You? Why would you do such a thing?" And you see this paper flowing by, and Usagi picks it up. He's like, "You're the outlaw. You destroyed that innocent village." And Ino's like, innocent village? Blah. No, they attacked me first, Ronin. Why can't you people just leave me alone? All he wants to do is be left alone, but people keep making it worse for old Ino right there. And Usagi says he sympathizes with Ino, but you must be brought to justice. And he's like, Ino says, "You act So self-righteous samurai, I hate you. And what I hate, I kill. And you see this look on Ino's face, and he is definitely not going to take this. And so you see Usagi and Zataino have a standoff, and Usagi says, "I thought you were my friend, Zatu. I thought you were my friend, and I thought of me. I thought you thought the same of me as a friend." And those bounty hunters last night, and I thought things were. He's like, I thought things were good between us. I thought we were gonna be friends. And all this kind of jazz. And Ino says, like, no, there's no such thing as friendship. I only know victory or death. And you see Usagi draw his sword, and he's like, must it end like this? He says. And Ino's like, yes, it's going to end like this. And they both draw their swords. You can see they both have different, distinct sword styles. And Zatino, I love the cane sword. The cane sword is so cool. I don't know how practical the cane sword is, but it's cool nonetheless to see like somebody fight with one. I don't really see many people fight with cane swords in like movies. So, and Usagi says, I don't want to kill you, Zato. You're like, good, then I can't lose. And you see them charging at each other. This scene is so cool. They charge at her. They charge at each other, just like the fight with Guinichi in the very, very beginning of this series or the podcast that we started. And you see him, and you see them like running at each other and like slice, and uh, Zataino goes to the ground, and he's like, "Oh no, I'm blind. I'm blind now. Why did you do this? Why did you do this to me?" So Usagi cut off Zataino's nose, which pretty much cripples him even more because he can't smell properly. He's like, without your nose, you're useless. With the sword, your usefulness with the sword is ended. He says. He's like, come on, let me take you to the doctor. So Usagi's still trying to do the right thing and take care of him and look at Zato, as his friend still, even though they had this big disagreement in this fight, which I do have to say, Usagi helping people out, even though Zato, kind of became a dick in the end of this story. But, that's how it is. But Zato, refuses his help. And he's like, you're a monster. You've done worse than the men worse than kill me, he says. So I guess Sachino would rather have died than have his nose cut out. He's like, I hate you, Usagi. I woulda. He's like, I hate you, Usagi, and woulda I hate I kill. Is he supposed to have like some kind of accent there, or is it just spelled differently? And he says he's going to hunt Usagi down and track him down. And one day, Usagi is going to be good as dead. And our story ends 2 months later at a carpentry place where we see Zataino and this guy is working on something, carving something out. And he seems to be getting a little annoyed that this isn't finished yet, but he gives him a prosthetic like snout, and he cuts off the head of this poor defenseless dinosaur. Come on, Zataino, to try to check things out. He's like, oh, this will work fine, but why does everything smell like pine? Uh, and that's where our issue ends. This issue was really good. It was interesting, very much a moral gray area. I feel like where Zataino is in this situation. He's not necessarily a bad guy because he was just trying to find his place where he can live and peacefully. And I know there's a whole backstory behind it where he accidentally he killed somebody. I believe it was on accident, if I remember correctly, and he's been hunted ever since. And things just keep getting worse and worse and worse. He keeps getting more infamous and stuff. And this isn't the last we will see of Zatuino. Definitely not for sure. He shows up a couple more times in this series, trying to go after Usagi. He's very much, uh, I guess, we would say he's a bad guy, but he's more of in like that gray area. He's really only after Usagi and trying to get revenge on Usagi, if I remember correctly. And later on in the series, um, yeah. I mean, this issue doesn't end well for Usagi nor Zatino, because Usagi loses his friend and Zatino becomes Usagi's enemy, which is sucks to see because they started out so well as friends, as almost like equals, as comrades, kind of, because they both use the sword and whatnot. It was almost like a traveler Ronin situation or whatever. I don't know what it is, but it was cool. It was cool to open the world more, get more character in this world that Usagi is gonna meet. And we had like Gensuki and Mariko, and there'll be some other people later on that we'll see in Kenichi and stuff like that. But some more rivals, some more. I mean, I don't feel like Zatino is a real bad guy in this situation. I think it was really much of a big misunderstanding in Usagi's like morality in this situation, where Usagi has to defend people, and Usagi doesn't put up with injustice, and Zatino is kind of like, if you fuck with me, I'm just gonna kill you, kind of thing. So it kind of clashes with Usagi's beliefs in that way. But I like this. I'm looking forward to the next issue, which is Lone Rabbit and Child, which ends out the first trade paperback for Usagi Yojimbo Origins. Next time we go over this, but this is a fun issue. Another quick story that does have bigger overarching consequences in Usagi Yojimbo, which is pretty cool. Like, Usagi's actions are going to have consequences, and what Zatuino does is what we will find out later on, what exactly he's going to do, which is that's the fun part, because we'll get another recurring character. So yeah, because that, yeah. But I like this issue. This issue, I say that every time I like this issue, or this read, because it was fun. It's fun. I think the last one I didn't like as much, but this one I really did enjoy. Uh, of all those aspects and whatnot. But yeah, thanks for listening. Hope you guys enjoyed this episode of the podcast. Reach out, give me some feedback. Usagi Pod on Twitter, Instagram. I got a Facebook page, Usagi Podjimbo over there. Check it out. Give me some feedback. Let me know. If you want to check out my other podcast where I talk about anime and manga with my friend, it's called Otakuology. I'll leave a link down below so you guys can check that out. And I hope you guys enjoyed this little episode, and we'll go on from there. We'll go on from there, going on to the next journey with Usagi Yojimbo. See you guys next time. Peace out.